Since 1996, the reliable HP60 has been the premier way to dry walls, soffits, ceilings, and behind cabinetry using a high-pressure industrial blower. When you first receive your system, inspect the boxes, and especially box 1, which contains the blower. You will be inspecting for any visible signs of damage by the freight company. Such indications can include crushed corners, especially on the bottom, or side penetrations from a forklift. Injectidry Systems is not responsible for freight damage, but will assist you in filing a freight claim. The shipper must be notified within 48 hours or by the next business day. Before you set up the HP drying system, you will need to cut the rolls of tubing into desired lengths. We recommend for most purposes 18 to 22 inches. You will want to cut a minimum of 100 pieces of tubing. Insert the injectors into one end of each piece of tubing. The tubing can be run many feet away if necessary by cutting it to the length you desire, or using tubing connectors to extend the length of shorter pieces. Next, attach the hose cuffs to the active hose line by screwing them on counterclockwise. Insert one quick connect connector per each active hose line. Cut the blank or inactive hose line to the length you desire. This also can be done on the job if you need special lengths. Let's see now how to set up the HP drying system. After determining the wet areas and marking them, drill one 3/16" hole per stud cavity at a minimum. Fastest drying, drill 2, whether that be behind a molding, above a molding, at a caulk line above the baseboard, or even in some cases through the base itself, if that will be less expensive to repair. If you're going to drill through solid wood, such as the baseboard, you're going to need a 1/4 inch drill bit. When drywall is very soft, drilling can make the hole too big, especially in a ceiling. A carpet awl will easily push through wet drywall and provides a slightly smaller hole than a drill bit. It helps sometimes to lay out the active hose line as your reference for drilling the holes. Our active hose line has an air port every 8 inches and can be custom ordered to be every 4 inches. Injectidry now has 2 sizes of injectors. The original black injectors measuring 3/16 inch and a new blue injector measuring 1/4 inch. Now the blue injector moves twice as much air as the small black injector. The blue and black injectors can both be used on the same trunk line. If you desire to introduce more airflow into a specific point of the structure, use the blue injectors. When using the HP60 and blue injectors, you should limit the amount of linear feet you dry to about 40 feet. With the HP Plus, you can go up to 60 feet due to the increased airflow per injector. The first connections to make will be to attach the large cam-lock air in and air out hoses to the air in and air out cams on the base unit. These ports are clearly marked, as are the cams on the hoses. Before hooking up the air in cam, inspect the screen in the air in pipe to ensure debris is not blocking the airflow. This larger diameter screen should never contain debris and is intended to provide but limited protection. Never run the unit without the air-in gray hose line with filter attached. Please note that the cam locks are reversed on the HP Plus, so operators will not mix up the hose lines between the HP60 and the Plus. No pressure relief valves are needed on the Plus, so there will be much less noise. For the HP60, there are factory preset brass pressure relief valves on each hose line to keep the unit from drawing too many amps. Drying can be accomplished either positively or negatively. We highly recommend that an inline Interceptor filter be used to capture any debris which might come out of the area being dried. The Interceptor is a true HEPA with a pre-filter, both of which can be replaced. In addition, the pre-filter is cleanable and washable. Always ensure that the HEPA airflow arrows point toward the blower base unit. The Interceptor HEPA filter should always be placed on the air inside of the machine. This will process the air being drawn in and protect your machine from dust, debris, and cross-contamination from allergens such as pollen, dander, and mold. The air-out hose is specifically reinforced to take the extra pressure and heat which the blower can produce. Such heat increases when drying short distances, but decreases at greater distances. When drying positively, attach the silencer to the end of the air-in gray hose. Such silencing will minimize the sound of air rushing into the air-in hose. Attach the main W to the air-out black and yellow hose and hook up your lines to it. If only one or two ports are used, cap the unused ports. When used negatively for suction drying, attach the silencer to the end of the air-out black and yellow hose. Attach the silencer to the strap on the blower housing to keep it off the floor. Leaving the silencer on the floor can heat up and overdry whatever the silencer is contacting. Now you are ready to connect the tubing to the active hose line. Whenever possible, run the trunk lines first before you decide where to put the base unit. If the injection run is to be in a straight line, the best place is near the center of the run. If the entire room is to be dried, run the active hose line in a complete circle and attach the hose lines to two connection ports on the main unit W. This will balance out the pressure and airflow. If you are running a manifold setup, this is how you might set up the manifolds. Remember that the active hose line will always be less of a trip hazard and look better to the customer and in pictures. But the manifolds allow the user to use more air distribution in a concentrated fashion. When drying ceilings, the holes must be drilled carefully into the ceiling at an angle. First, just barely penetrate the drywall with a drill bit at a 90-degree angle. Then move the drill bit to a 45-degree angle and carefully drill through the material and move the drill bit back without making the hole bigger. After holes have been made, insert the injectors and the hose will stay up by itself as the injectors are impinged in the hole due to their angle. Also, the slight wings on the injectors will help keep them from being pulled out. In some cases, it might be necessary to help hold the hose lines up. One method of fastening is to use a piece of tubing such as this or even zip ties. If the holes have to be drilled where they would show, repair is usually fairly quick and simple. If the wall is a firewall, always use fire-rated caulk when repairing to maintain wall integrity. If the drying run is for uninsulated walls and will be long, you can use just every other air-out port, but you should ensure that each wall cavity has at least one injector. If you skip a stud cavity, the stud bays on either side will be dry, and in the end you will probably have to inject the one or two that you missed. We don't recommend skipping stud bays on walls. The wall and ceiling active hose line kit can be extended with the use of blank hose and manifolds at the end of the run. Remember that every injector used will reduce the available airflow at all of the other ports. To speed the evaporation rate, it is always best to use the lowest humidity air possible, whether from a refrigerant dehumidifier or a desiccant. The best way to accomplish this is to attach a piece of ducting to the supply air from the dehumidifier and put the air-in collector inside the duct. Always ensure that the main unit housing is not in an environment where the temperature can be over 104 degrees Fahrenheit, as this will cause the blower to overheat. Use the supplied red caps at the end of the hose line runs and supplied T's to direct your hoses in different directions, around corners, up walls and ceilings, and into separate rooms. Make sure to cap off any unused openings on your hose line or manifolds. Look for kinked or bent tubing. This can prevent airflow from reaching the cavity you are trying to dry. Cut off the kinked piece of the tubing or swap it out. When injecting very wet or soft drywall, it is important to check the injectors for clogs. The soft drywall can easily clog the tip of the injector and completely block the airflow. The tip of a carpet awl can easily remove blockage. You can use these drying systems to dry lath and plaster, walls with wood paneling, and just about any wall cavity that can be injected. This is the most effective drying system for drying exterior walls. This system is not designed, nor should it be used, for the killing or eradication of pathogens, mold, insects, or pests of any kind. This includes injecting either liquids, gases, or very hot air. We trust your decision to purchase and use an HP drying system will result in more success in drying dense material as attested to by our successful users since 1996.